So I've got a sutta here. I've translated it a bit. It's quite different from the sort of standard translations out there. It might raise some interesting points. So on one occasion, the Buddha was living with sunburns. Venerable Udayi approaches the Buddha and says this: "It is marvellous, Bhante. It is wonderful, Bhante. Bhante, how much has been done by me, and the extent of my respect and my shame and fear of wrongdoing." That's a different translation. I think the standard one is like something like how helpful my love and respect and shame and fear. But actually, I think literally he's saying how much has been done by me. Bahukatang. So yeah. So he's sort of commenting on how far he's come. He says, "I wasn't doing much with the Dhamma. I wasn't doing much with the Sangha. I wasn't like particularly engaged with the Dhamma, engaged with the Sangha, but seeing my love for the Buddha and respect and shame and fear of wrongdoing, I went forth from home to homelessness."
It was just merely inspired.
Exactly. I think pema, inspiration, devotion, it's that kind of... It's often like a negative thing.
It's
love,
completely based on
attachment.
ignorance.
Yeah.
And infatuation almost.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, it can have this positive effect. So yeah, so seeing my love for the auspicious one and respect and shame and fear of wrongdoing, I went forth from home to homelessness. The Buddha taught me the Dhamma, such is matter, such is the arising of matter, such is the disappearing of matter, such is feeling, perception, determination, consciousness, such is the arising of consciousness, such is the disappearing of consciousness. Bhante, having gone forth to an empty dwelling, pondering over turning round the upside downness of the 5 assumed aggregates, I discerned the essence of this is suffering. I discerned the essence of this is the arising of suffering. I discern the essence of this is the cessation of suffering, and I discern the essence of this is the way leading to the cessation of suffering.
So by discerning the right order, he discerned the 4 noble truths. So you might maybe, if you say about the Pali of that, because it might sound as if, because we keep talking about the right order, it might sound as if the translation tries to read into the sutta what we wanted to say.
Exactly, I can imagine.
But if you look at the Pali then, what does the Pali say?
So the normal translation for this, I should say, so it's the Pali is ukuja and avakuja together as a compound. So in the commentary, it takes that to mean, so ukuja as rise and avakuja as fall, and it says something like it's, hang on, what's this, how says it here? The arising is called surge, akuja, and the fall is decline. Thus he was exploring the aggregates by way of rise and fall, udaya baya.
See, there's already the problem with that. How can you explore what you are, what the basis of your sense of self is? How can you see that decline, surge, unless you assume yourself separate from it so you can look at it? Like when your own eye is subjected to rise and fall, if you want to take that to mean that, how can you see that? I mean, I can only see the sights. How can I have a sight of itself? That's impossible. So how can then I understand the nature of itself if it merely knows how to approach it through sights? It can't. Nature is unattainable. And understanding of it is unattainable if all your eye can do is see. If there's no knowledge in regard to the eye. And that whole description of the surge, the fall, always ties in with the view of how you just have to keep observing things changing, keep observing things changing. It's still an observation, thus the observer remains completely unknown.
But there
because you
are
can't see him.
but there are places in the suttas
They are,
where
but that's
people-
on the level of endurance, what we discussed before. Even that is not on the level of observation.
Well, no, it's seeing. It is. It's seeing. Seeing. I've got Bodhisattva Vipassy.
Yeah.
He dwells as one who sees rising.
Well, sees with his eyes.
No. Sees, regard.
So that's not what I'm talking
Yeah,
about.
exactly. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
there's no reason to bring it up.
But they're rising and falling in the five assumed aggregates. This is matter. This is the origin. This is the arising. This is the disappearing. So you see matter. You see. It's.
Again, let's not conflate the two.
Yeah.
What I was saying is seeing with the eyes, and
Yeah.
the view is always where you just have to observe the change in the aggregates. Now you're using word seeing in a sense like, oh, I saw the truth.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
I'm referring to the actual seeing, literal
Okay,
seeing with
okay.
your eyes.
Mhm.
So none of that applies.
Mhm.
And the Buddha Vipassy was exactly that. He understood the nature
Yeah.
of the five aggregates before he became the Buddha.
Yeah.
And then observed that.
But with right view.
Yeah, of course. That's what the right view is. Then he observed that, or he was seeing it,
Yes.
and simply by dwelling on that, he became a fully enlightened Buddha.
Yeah.
But not by actually seeing it with
No.
his eyes and looking at it.
So he sees.
So it's metaphorically.
Sorry. So
speaking.
So he understands. Let's say he understands.
Exactly.
He dwells. He remains. He sort of spends time understanding.
Yeah.
Not only have the aggregates, each aggregate has manifested, but there's a rising. This is like a increasing in its presence, or it's decreasing in its presence. Either way, it's manifested.
Yeah.
So such is matter, such is the arising of matter, such
Yeah.
is the.
So in other words,
such-
say in regards to sights,
discipline.
something you see, something that maybe it's affecting you either with passion or aversion, say a displeasing sight
Yeah.
that you're really, really wound up by.
Yeah.
If you keep observing that, you will remain ignorant of the nature of seeing,
Mm-hmm.
because you're fully absorbed with the object of your sight,
Yeah.
which is what the sight is. But the point is you understand the arising and ceasing, or whatever I want to call it, of the eye, which is a necessary basis for any type of sight, pleasing or displeasing. And you can't see the eye on the level of sights.
Yeah.
So you get to see the truth of the eye,
Yes.
but not by the physical actual seeing, because that's a secondary thing.
Yeah.
But back onto that Pali.
That's right. so that Buddha, Bodhisattva Vipassy, when he talks about rise and fall.
So it's the same Pali.
No, he's talking about Udayabhaya.
That's a rise and fall.
That's a rise and fall.
Yeah.
Udayabhaya.
That's what we discussed before in terms of increasing and decreasing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And there's also actually that's slightly different. There's another way it's talked about, which is not Udayabhaya. It's Upada and Vaya. They're similar.
Yeah.
So, but that's what we've talked about. The three characteristics. The rising is manifest. Disappearing or passing, falling is manifest. Rising and falling, let's say. Rising is manifest.
Increasing,
falling,
decreasing,
decreasing
whatever.
is manifest.
Yeah.
Either way, something endures and there's change.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's changing one way or the other. So, so that's Udayabhaya or Upada Vaya, but that's not what's in this Sutta with Udayi.
Yeah, it's different.
It's completely different. It's this Ukuja and Nikuja, and that appears quite a lot in the suttas in the stock phrase when usually I think it's a householder
Here's the Dhamma.
and says, oh, it's as if
Turning
one
the
might
upside down.
turn upright what was upside down.
What was first put second, what was second put first.
That's something slightly different. That's talking about different views. But yeah.
So this specific Pali, it's upside down.
this
What was
bit,
up
what
is
was
now down, what was
turned-
down, it's up.
turned upright, nikujitang, ukujaya. One turns up what was
Down.
down.
Yeah. What was the wrong way
What
around?
was the wrong way around?
So it is exactly the wrong order.
Yeah. So I've got it. So this is Udayi saying how amazing how much work he's done in, where is it, insofar as he has pondered over turning around, turning upright, the upside downness of the 5 assumed aggregates.
Yeah, it's actually even probably because usually I would refer to those examples of when people hear the Buddha and then it's like
Putting
turning
it
upside
further-
down, putting first and second, but then people can sometimes dismiss that in a sense. Oh well, it's just like they were related, so that's how I would express it.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like no, it's an accurate way of express. Why would
Yeah.
you express it inaccurately, even if you're related? Or
Yeah.
a kind of accurate understanding,
Exactly.
because that's the whole point.
Yeah.
You accurately understood now,
Yeah.
but now you're gonna inaccurately describe it.
That doesn't make
But
sense.
anyway, this is even more pertaining to he was actually contemplating
Yes.
the right order of things.
Yeah.
So what is the wrong order of the 5 assumed aggregates from the point of view of your personal experience? What would constitute the wrong order?
I come first, and these aggregates
Exactly.
are related to
Yeah,
me.
yeah. Me and everything else in relation to it.
So they're
Yeah.
mine. So this matter is mine, or it's in me, or it's I'm in the matter, or
Either way,
whatever.
you
I
comes
come
first.
Yeah.
And that's the point, that self-centeredness of it.
Mm.
So if you understand, it doesn't matter how self-centered your sense of self might feel, how in control, how much present it is,
Mhm.
it's present within the 5 aggregates. It's second to them. It's dependent on them. It's not the other way around. So literally, it's
Yeah.
the same thing that remains there.
Yeah.
Just instead of placing it like this, you place it like this.
Mhm. The emphasis is
That's
somewhere
it.
else, and everything changes.
You don't create new things. You don't introduce new components into the 5 aggregates
Yeah.
when you start practicing the Dhamma. Impossible.
But the whole emotional significance of the picture is now completely different.
Oh yeah,
just
of
because
course.
of that.
Well, everything, because the whole samsara depends on the wrong order.
Mhm.
It's not. That's what I mean. Like samsara is not outside or something, a universe of rebirths where you just travel through. No, it's within your point of view. That's what your point of view is.
Mhm.
Samsara is the wrong view. Samsara is the structure of the wrong order.
Mhm.
So for as long as that's there, you keep reappearing. You keep enduring.
But by contemplating turning that round, one can discern the Four Noble Truths.
Oh well, yeah. I mean
Always
that's how it was expressed there, but
Yeah.
you can pretty much discern anything that the Buddha was teaching about,
Yeah.
because it's the principle of Titsumpada.
Yeah.
With this is.
Right.
With this first, this is second, as in description of the wrong order.
Yeah.
Now without this as first, have
Yeah.
that as second, is a description of the right order.
Yeah.
So with the grain, against the grain.
Mhm.
All those things that the Buddha used to describe Titsumpada.
Mhm.
And that's what it is. So there's, and again, even in Puttujana's experience, there is Patitsampada. There is sense of I am, and everything else that belongs to me, that I can use, act, see, hear, taste, touch, think about, and so on. But it's the Patitsampada with the grain. You go with the grain of ignorance.
Yeah.
Me towards the world.
Mhm.
So it's still me and the world, if you want to call it like that. But then you realize the world, as in this body, the material world, the senses, it's the container.
Yeah.
It's a necessary basis
Yeah.
for the existence of my notion of self.
Yeah.
So I'm not denying my notion of self, I'm just not seeing it as mine anymore, because it doesn't depend on me wanting to keep it, but it depends on these things allowing it to be.
Mhm.
But it's still the same thing, me and the matter, me and the world.
Mhm.
But now its emphasis is, oh, this is the first actually, this is the second, not this is the first and that's the second. So that's where the Patitsampada, in its principle, is described as with this is.
Yeah.
With this is. Two
That's
things.
the Dhamma.
With this is.
Yeah.
Without this won't be.
Yeah.
So if this is not first, this cannot be the second.
Yeah.
And contemplating the right order, it's probably something Puttujana can do.
Well, that's what I think was going on here. He's describing himself as a Patujana, pondering over turning round. It's almost as if
Yeah.
what if I were to turn around?
What if I were to, out of mere faith in the
Yeah.
Buddha and his teaching,
Out of the love for him.
regard this as first and this as second?
Yeah.
It doesn't seem natural to
Yeah.
me.
Yeah.
It goes against the grain of my experience.
Yeah. There's nothing that I've got.
There's no
that confirms
validation
it.
immediate that it's true,
Yeah.
that's right. But what if I were to do it out of mere faith?
Mhm.
And that's exactly the faith type in the suttas
Uh-huh.
they describe.
Mhm.
People think faith type means you're just purely devoted, infatuated, and somehow you become an arahant on account of infatuation.
Yeah.
No, it means that you start applying the Dhamma on account of faith, nothing else. Like somebody else would need to make some sense. Why would the right order work?
Yeah.
And based on getting some intellectual understanding why that order would work, he gets to apply the right order, and because it is a right order, it will work.
Mhm.
And the result of it, the verification of it working, is being free from suffering amidst of suffering.
Mhm.
You can't suffer.
Mhm.
You're incapable of suffering. And oh yeah, it worked.
Mhm.
But somebody who doesn't necessarily ponder on it, can't make sense of it, could just do it because they understood to the extent that that's what the Buddha points at.
Yeah.
So that's why even the faith type, even him over there, because he was clearly a faith type, as
Yeah.
he said himself,
Saying it's all about payment for the Buddha.
he was
Yeah.
just inspired.
Love
He
for
had
the
no
Buddha.
relation to the Sangha or nothing, basically. He was just inspired by the Buddha, and that's why he became a monk.
Yeah.
Even he was then, the fact that he was able to at least get the notion of, oh, maybe I should put this first and this second, means that he had some grasp, some instruction that he made sense of.
Yeah.
That's the difference between asutta putujana and sutta putujana.
Yeah. I don't think it actually says the Sutta of a Bhikkhu in the suttas, but I don't think you ever actually see Sutta of a Patujana.
Right.
suttas.
You just see asutta
I think it's
putujana.
always I think it's always a Sutta.
But then you can infer that there is a
But
sutta
yeah,
putujana.
So someone exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
So someone who's had some instruction doesn't see it for themselves.
Yeah, but see, so now that Putujana, who understood the right order, at least got the notion of it,
Got the notion of it, yeah.
can start to apply it on account of the faith in the Buddha,
Yeah.
because he thinks the Buddha is the greatest,
Yeah.
and he'll just do whatever the Buddha says.
Mhm.
Or if he doesn't have such faith, he can then start applying it after pondering on it.
Yeah.
After he thinks about it, and like, what actually makes more sense?
Yeah.
What if I were to try to do this and sustain this?
Mhm.
And cultivate this and develop this. Either way, that person would arrive at the right view. Doesn't matter whether you came through faith or through investigation. The point is to arrive at the right view.
Mhm. Mhm.
So the first, what would be the necessary condition for a Putujana to be able to start practicing the right order? Except understanding that there is such thing as right order. What he needs to do in order to understand it.
Sorry, what?
So Putujana,
Yeah.
who has
He's
some
a-
notion of the teaching,
His head's got okay. And some
In order to
devotion in the Buddha.
in order to start pondering on the right order, as that Uday did, what does he must stop doing?
Ah, okay. He needs to first of all practice restraint and stop gratifying his
Yeah.
desires. Basically.
Secondly,
keep precepts. Practice restraint
Yeah.
and spend time on his own.
yeah, that's on that level of a lifestyle.
Yeah.
What would be the second thing? It's kind of more internal. What would he have to stop doing? So as we described, the order is the sense of self and everything else.
Yeah.
But the right order is everything else and the sense of self.
Yeah. So he needs to start including everything else.
He needs to start including, but above all, he needs to stop either ignoring the sense of self or trying to get rid of it.
Yeah. Okay.
Because that's practically speaking what most people who got the notion of the Buddhist teaching would
Yeah.
be doing.
Yeah.
There is no self. There
That's
is
right.
no self.
But
And then just
actually,
everything serves to like overriding
that's
the
not what
sense of
that's
self.
not what he's doing. He's not saying I'm
No,
trying
of
to get
course,
rid. No,
of
it's
course,
like no.
yeah.
All it is
Yeah.
just changing the priority.
How can you
it.
change the priority to things if you keep denying one of those
Exactly.
things?
Because that's not.
If
chase
you're
the
not
priority.
acknowledging it and you say, oh, it's not real, the sense is real. It's
Yeah.
very real.
Yeah.
But it's not first.
Yeah.
It's the second.
Exactly. So he spent his time just recognizing the self that has manifested right here in the way, in the kind of
Well, I am.
ephemeral
To
way
whatever,
it has.
yeah, whatever ambiguous sense I might be if I try to overly define it, I do have a sense of self.
Yeah.
I am such and such,
Yeah.
a certain individual, something. There is like a group of characteristics, so to speak, that do kind of outline the phenomenon of I am.
Yeah.
Whatever, I might be different or whatever, but there is still sense of I am.
Yeah.
The reason why people struggle with it is because they always depend on like overly defining
Yeah.
it in order for it to be clear or real. But
It's not a thing until it's
exactly
clarified
until I
and-
can put
yeah.
my finger on it.
Exactly.
Well, no, see, the direction of putting a finger on it, even if there's nothing to put a finger on it, it's real as such.
yeah.
So you realize, oh, so you can put a finger on the direction where you will be putting a finger on,
Yeah.
but you're unaware of it because you only want to put your finger on
Well,
something.
if,
Only
or
that's
let's say
real.
if basically your attempts to clarify something need that something to be there first
Yeah.
of all.
Yeah, exactly. So that's what I mean. The sense of self.
Yeah.
You can't make it more specific than that.
Yeah.
But then you also must stop denying.
Yeah.
Oh, there's no sense of self.
Oh, the
Everything is
Buddha
an
who
art.
I love told me that doesn't
Yeah,
exist.
yeah.
So he didn't say that.
So, and that's I think the main work for Puthujjana is that
Yeah.
learning how to discern
Mm.
the ambiguity
Yeah.
of the sense of self without overly defining it
Yeah.
and without ignoring it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So learning
Just
it to
allowing
see
it to be there.
a
Just,
phenomenon
yeah, yeah.
of self.
And then so that's the probably the most difficult.
I think that's
aspect.
most difficult.
And then
If you
once
get the sense of
that,
self, you
then
will, yeah,
the changing the order thing is sort of
it's implied.
follows. Yeah.
Because now you know that there is this phenomenon enduring, regardless of what you think about it, regardless whether you act or you deny it, there is a sense of I am.
Yeah.
So within the sense of I am, you discern the sense of everything else that belongs to that I am.
Yeah.
And then you see that everything else that belongs to I am is the reason that sense of I am is there. It's not other way
Yeah,
around.
exactly.
But by that time, you have grasped the sign of your mind thoroughly,
Yeah.
and then you could. So it's not like fixing the order like 1 and 2.
Yeah.
It's more like, how to put it, like a long sleeve shirt. It's inside out. So it's really turning it back the right way. So you have to go literally through the sleeve and pull it out.
Okay. You have to go through the sense of self.
Yeah, you have to go through the sense of self to then pull out that right order. And but sense of self is still there. But now that which was belonging to the sense of self,
It's
it's
behind-
actually
it's behind
the
it.
reason for the sense of self.
Yeah.
And the reason why it's not 1 and 2 is because you are it. So you can't step outside and see the
Yeah.
sense of self relating to this and
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
That's then your point of view is where the sense of self is.
Yeah.
So first you need to allow that phenomenal sense of self to endure
Yeah.
and then see through it.
Yeah.
And by doing so, eventually that sense of self that still endures is now seen as second.
Yeah.
So
You
it's not an
can't
act of will, an act of fixing it
Yes.
up.
Or
turning it.
even I mean that's a nice example, but you can't imagine you going in and pulling the thing.
Yeah.
inside
Well, you
out.
imagine yourself being in the sleeve.
Yeah, exactly.
I suppose. Yeah.
exactly.
So the inside of the sleeve should be outside,
yeah.
but you're inside. So it's like I have to make it outside.
Yeah.
Anyway, if you succeed to pull it out,
Yeah.
then you realize that now the order is right,
Yeah.
and you will know the order is right because you will be untouchable by the suffering.
Yeah.
So you're not hiding from the suffering. You're not denying it. You're not afraid of it,
Yeah.
and it cannot touch you.
You've understood the essence of suffering. This is suffering.
Yeah. So it's the
What
most
that
direct
means.
verification you can have.
Mm. Yeah, he then goes on to say, Bhante, the Dhamma was broken through to by me, or I broke through to the Dhamma. The path was obtained by me, which, when developed by me, made much of, dwelling in this way will bring me to the truth, so that I will understand. Birth is destroyed, the holy life is condemned. What should be done has been done. There is no more of this.
So the sense of the right order that he established, if you just cultivate it, protect it, maintain it, the complete dispassion will have to be the result of it.
And you know that. So he knows that if he just keeps doing this.
Oh yeah, there's no doubt about
Earth
it.
is destroyed.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. No, you see the end, the result of this.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's why Sotapanna understands what an arahant is.
Yeah, exactly. That's,
He sees,
Yeah.
oh, that's the ending of this.
Yeah.
It cannot result in anything else.
Yeah.
So that's why it's the developing Satipatthana, the right view, is the one way, always. It's just
The direct way.
only
yeah,
one
yeah,
direction
yeah,
that can
one way.
result in.
Yeah.
And what's the common translation of that passage?
Which
What,
bit?
the one you read?
Just the last bit.
About the inside, turning the
Oh,
upturned.
something like having gone to an empty dwelling.
No, I mean the key phrase.
Yeah. So pondering over, turning around the upside down. So it'd be something like, examining the surge and decline.
Right.
Of
So
the
the commentary, the bit you read, is identifying that the wrong order, right order, Pali, with the arising
With
and
the
falling
Udayabaya.
of the other Pali, different
Exactly.
Pali.
That's right.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's right.
Yeah. Because they couldn't understand what does this order mean.
What
Basically. What does that mean?
What would it mean? To
Oh, it
turn
must
around
mean
upside down?
mean up and down.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's already a red flag. One thing is to, ponder over what it means or try to understand the context of something that's being said. But another thing is like, Pali says one thing, you can't make sense out of it,
Yeah.
so then you just assume that, it's the same like that other time when a different Pali said something different.
Yeah. That's a bit of a leap. I
Yeah,
mean, it might be,
yeah.
but
Yeah.
you've got to be
Yeah.
careful.
Yeah, the reason is like, well, you might like even if
Maybe I just don't understand what's being said.
exactly,
here.
yeah. So even if you get it right, it will be for the wrong reasons.
Yeah.
You haven't understood it.
Yeah.
And you'll know you're, at least closer to the clearer understanding of it is when you develop a context. They would include both.
Yeah.
They would not need
Yeah.
changing.
Yeah. Exactly.
Like what we explain now, it can be explained like the way we explained it before.
Yeah.
Arising is intensifying and increasing and decreasing
Yeah.
of the same thing that endures.
Yeah.
And that's how you discern the order.
Mm-hmm.
So we explain two different passages, two different Pali, two different descriptions with the same context.
Yeah. So could you
And there are no loose ends there, nothing to tie off.
So it's like the word sankhara.
Mm.
So that seems to be, I think the common view seems to there's different usages of the word sankhara. So it can mean conditions for other things, or it can mean things that are compounded, or it can mean that's like they're all different, completely different.
Yeah. No, it can't mean that.
No, then really, surely that means you
It
don't.
would be a different word.
If you've got all these completely different ideas.
Yeah.
So
That's one of the reasons. But that's one of the things people don't necessarily realize or appreciate, for that matter, is the Buddha Gautama was the foremost in expounding the Dhamma. That means the most accurate.
Exactly.
That doesn't mean the foremost, the most poetic, inspirational speaker, the orator. No, it means the most accurate in describing and expounding and teaching the Dhamma. So if he did not choose a different term, means it's not a different thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Sometimes, it wasn't clear and he used this word like this and that word like that. Yeah, most people would probably do that, except Buddha Gautama, who was the foremost expounding the Dhamma.
Yeah, exactly.
So if he was using the word for sankhara in all these different contexts, means you need to understand the context. They will include all of it.
Yeah. Why would he say
Not try to tailor the word to mean different things in different contexts.
Exactly.
That's just tying off the loose ends.
Yeah. Why would he use
Patching it.
Patchwork.
Patchwork.
Yeah, exactly. This Dhamma free from patchwork.
And that's what sankhara is. The most fundamental principle of Ritsumpad.
Yeah.
Two simultaneous things.
Yeah.
That's what sankhara is.
Yeah. If you understand that, then
If
all
you
the
understand
other
that, every single context,
will be
every
included.
single instance, exemplification of that sankhara will fall into that principle.
Yeah.
And there is no need for patchwork because it's all included. And that should be the criteria, again, even for Buddhajana who starts to get the notion of the Buddha's teaching. You must find a context that will not contradict itself. They will not need changing of the meaning of the term. Like you understood the context of sankhara, but now you came across a different meaning of sankhara and your context falls apart. That's not the context then.
Yeah.
But instead of now refusing to let go of that context that you got, some sense of it, and then trying to, no, this is probably what it means, and that meant that, and this meant that. So just that you can allow yourself to have a contradictory context based on sankhara that doesn't always mean that which you thought it means, you should really abandon your context and keep doing the work.
Yeah, try it. Well,
so it's more unpleasant,
yeah,
but it's exactly what the practice is.
You have to admit, I actually don't know what context is being described here.
Exactly. So the context I got was limited, which means it's not the context.
It's not the context.
Exactly.
I haven't actually got what the meaning is.
Yeah,
I don't know
probably
what
the best. Probably the best example of that was the nibbana. There's that in Majjhima Nikaya, I think in the 30s, 36 or I can't remember exactly which one it is, but there's that bit where the Buddha describes somebody with a sense of I am attaining the nibbana, and he says, "Oh, this is nibbana. I am in nibbana. This nibbana is mine." And then people's like, "Oh well, how can you know?" Because for most people, nibbana is this notion of, like a mystical experience of you're unaware of yourself, you just surrender to the universe type of thing.
Yeah.
So how can you, with your self-awareness, with your sense of I am, experience
Discern
nibbana?
what nibbana is. Yeah.
And we had this discussion, like with random monks and lay people, many years ago. And so this passage was brought up, and then people were like, "Well, how'd you?" And then some other people saying, "Well, no, it's not the real nibbana." And then they said, "Look, remember that sutta where the Buddha asked that man, what is nibbana for you?" And he said, "This body is nibbana." He starts hitting his limbs. This health is my nibbana. And we said, "That's ridiculous," and then pointed out why that's wrong.
Yeah.
So then this person said, "Oh no, this probably refers to that wrong nibbana." I was like, "But no, this was the Buddha was saying that. It wasn't a random man had the wrong view."
Yeah.
And I was like, "Yeah, no, that's probably because there's the real nibbana, the mystical experience of nibbana, and then this must be the wrong nibbana."
Yes.
And I was quite surprised they were saying that, because in the same sutta, the Buddha continues and says, this man is describing nibbana. The man who says, "I am in nibbana, nibbana is mine," he factually asserts that which nibbana is.
Yeah.
So I read that out loud, and it was just silence. Just no. So, and that's the perfect example of that completely limited, wrong context.
Yeah.
You have an idea of what nibbana is, and here you are in the same sutta from the same person, the Buddha himself. He said, "No, that man also describes nibbana, and that doesn't fit with your nibbana is undescribable."
Yeah.
But the Buddha said, this man with the wrong view describes that which nibbana is, but he doesn't attain it because he still prioritizes his sense of self. And you couldn't make sense out of it, so you have two options: either you ignore that you just contradicted the Buddha, or you realize that
hold
you
on
must
to your own view.
exactly automatically. That's what it's implied, which is why you would choose to contradict or pretend you didn't hear it.
Yeah.
It was like when I read it out loud, it was just like you could hear the tumbleweed, like silence. And then anyway, in discussion, just like it never happened. Like it never happened. Yeah. Or alternatively, you realize, oh no, that I cannot tolerate that. I should not tolerate that contradiction. So I must now undo the context of what I thought nibbana and my goal and my 20 years of practice were leading to, and upgrade it. That will be able to include this, which means I need to clarify even what I thought I understood, which I haven't.
Yeah.
Not protect it blindly against anything that might challenge it. And goes the same, by the way, in Mullaparaya Sutta.
Yeah, exactly.
Conceives the nibbana, conceives in nibbana.
Takes nibbana.
Oh, this must be, no, it's a real nibbana. It's a real nibbana,
Yeah.
exactly. So by all means, conceive nibbana as yours means you've done much more work than if you just conceive sensuality as yours. But fundamentally, yes, conceiving is still there, which means the wrong order is still there, which means what this man understood, the right order, hasn't been understood. And that's like the example of how can somebody become enlightened almost in an instant, is because they've done all the work of replacing any inferior conceiving with the conceiving of nibbana, conceiving of dispassion, disenchantment, letting go. And imagine, you've done all that work already, And all you need to do now is see that as first and your sense of self as second.
Exactly.
That's it. That's
Yeah.
all that's left.
Yeah.
And then it was, oh no, that's why they became arahants. Just the Buddha said one sentence, minds were enlightened.
Yeah.
Because they'd done all the work of fixing the right order and now just understanding it as such.
Mm.
And again, as we mentioned before, the Bhakya Sutta.
Yeah.
People think he was just lucky that the Buddha told him that in the scene there'll just be the scene. And they ignore the fact that he was a quite austere, bark-wearing ascetic for who knows how long, decades maybe, of extreme renunciation and commitment. And he genuinely thought he was enlightened because there's absolutely perfect dispassion. Nothing can affect him. And when he heard the Buddha, I thought, oh, okay, that was the missing bit. That's it. All he needed was utterance of another. He already developed Yoniso Manasikara thoroughly.
Yeah.
The two factors for the right view.
So he hadn't thought to change the order.
And you cannot think that without
No,
the external instruction.
Exactly, yeah.
If
But
you do, you would be Sama
But
Buddha.
he had done the work in discerning the phenomena. Discerning
Absolutely,
what was
absolutely,
there.
yeah. The mind,
So,
the sun, the
sense
nature,
of
passion,
self, all of
the
that.
value of this passion,
Yeah.
the restraint, all of that he has fully understood. And that's what we meant by some beings would have little dust in their eyes. Means the pollutions have been either undone or haven't been developed, or the effort has been made and they have been abandoned. Like his previous teachers that he wanted to go and teach, not out of gratitude or some devotional respect, but simply because it's the least work for him. He said, oh, who should I teach first? Well, there are those beings that need very little teaching. Why don't I start with them?
Yeah. So the Buddha just ends that sutta. I mean, he then goes through and talks about the various factors of awakening that have been obtained by him. That's why I think what he's saying is, look, isn't it amazing? It's how much has been done by me. Yeah, people might think that sounds conceited, but it's just factual.
Well, to Putujan it sounds conceited, but
Yeah.
it's just a factual statement.
Yeah. He's not, this is not based on conceit. It's
It
talking
cannot
about
be.
the lack of
It's
conceit.
based on abandonment of the conceit, and that's why it's so amazing.
And so the sutta just ends with the Buddha saying,
You know, like whenever they in the sutta, isn't it marvelous? Isn't it wonderful that I can glide the sun and fly in the sky and things like that? Oh, that's extremely conceited thing to say.
Exactly.
It's just factual.
Yeah. No, I can, and it is amazing.
You're amazed by yourself. Oh wow!
Yeah, exactly.
Because it's not based on your conceit. It's
Yeah.
not based on I am.
And then the Buddha responds and says, "Good, Udayi. This path, Udayi, has indeed been obtained by you, which, when developed by you, made much of, dwelling in this way, will bring you to the truth, so that you will understand birth is destroyed, the whole life has been lived. What should be done has been done. There is no more of this."